Good morning, parents of juniors and juniors. Thanks for joining us this morning. We wanted to put together a little Q&A so that we could welcome you to campus very soon, but also answer some of your questions that you may have leading up to the opening of school in a few weeks here. So at first, I want to introduce everyone who's on the panel this morning. First and foremost, we have our co-directors of college counseling, Michael Hallman and Melissa Lustig. We have our Director of the Arts, Michael Orman, who has joined us this year, new from Texas, from the Green Hill School, so please welcome him to our family. Our Dean of Students in the Upper School, Mr. Albert Ronquillo. Our Director of Counseling, Allie Hirsch, and our Athletic Director, Claude Grubert. So if you have questions for anyone specifically on the panel, please just put those in the Q&A section as we go. I would ask that you not participate in the chat during this panel because I can only manage one thing at a time, so I'll be dealing in the Q&A section. So if you have particular questions, please add them there. And after I do my presentation of our reopening plan, we will then get to your questions. We'll also have a brief statement by each of our panelists about our reopening plans for their departments in particular. So we are planning on reopening. We were waiting for word that we might be shut down, but it seems that we are not going to be. So we have a plan for that. We have a plan for everything. So you're aware, our administrative team and our teachers have been working since March really, coming up with a plan for how we were going to open school in August. And so teachers have been doing professional development. They have not had a summer off. And we have come up with 4 very viable plans. One plan is the face-to-face plan, which is akin to what you're used to and what we've done for years. The only way that we would be able to come back normally is if we had either a miracle vaccine in the coming days for COVID, or if we had a regular testing protocol. And since we don't have those at this time, we have 3 other options. One option that we have to keep in play is the remote option. So we have some families who have chosen to keep their students at home, and they will be learning remotely. We have set this up for the entire first semester at this time. It can go for the entire year, but anyone who commits to the remote learning plan will do so for the entire first semester at this time. The remote plan really is for students who live in households that have people with compromised immune systems, students themselves who want to stay home because of that. If you are interested in that, we have asked that you please reach out to me as the division director to make those arrangements. And the other reason that we have a remote option is because we have to face the possibility that we may be shut down at any point, or we may need to shut ourselves down. In order to continue the academic program and others, we will need to have a remote option, and that is planned and ready to go. And so that is in the works, and we will have more information for you individually if you want the remote option. We are going to, though, reopen school with one of our other plans that we have in place, and that is so that we can enact our social distancing protocols and our COVID protocols in general. And so we need the flexibility to be able to go from one model to the next, and we have built that in. So we will share all of those plans in more detail as we go. We also need to be able to accommodate any student who tests positive and needs to stay home, even if they're asymptomatic, or any teacher in the same situation. And so all of that is planned for. As we plan to reopen, please understand that one of the most important elements of our safety protocols is going to be the mask wearing. And so we have sent this out in emails. I have recommended to parents and students that you get used to wearing the mask, that you find the mask that is the right one for you, that it is the safest that you can find and the most comfortable you'll be able to wear for extended periods of time. They need to be good quality. We will have a zero tolerance policy on the mask wearing in the building, so you're aware. And we do have plans in place for accommodating students. If you need to go outside, we will let you go outside to take a break, right? We have also other protocols. Social distancing is going to be one of the biggest. And so we're going this year with an 80-minute class model. It's very similar for you students to the long block weeks that we had last year. We will be going with, it's called an 80-minute flex model. And so you will have 4 classes a day in addition to either our virtual assemblies or your advisory activities period or club period. But classes will be 80 minutes long, and in order to socially distance in the classrooms, we have limited the number of students, and so we've divided each class into two different groups, so that we will only have a maximum number of students in any classroom that can be seated comfortably at 6 feet apart. So we also will have directional hallways for passing periods. Having these longer classes has reduced the number of passing periods that students will be in the hallway during the daytime. And so the hallways will be directional. It might take you a little longer to get to class, to get to your locker, and that's fine. We will be very flexible with our tardy policy and understanding that students will need to get up and go to their lockers in class during class time. That's completely fine. We encourage that, in fact. We also are going to provide more of our outdoor spaces and encourage classes to go outside during the daytime. We are investing in some outdoor tents, one at least for outside the CFA building, and one over the quad and outdoor amphitheater near the athletic complex, so the teachers can feel free to bring their students outside. They have to sit 6 feet apart if they'd like to take their masks off. The same will be in place for eating periods. Students have to be at least 6 feet apart when their mask is removed in order to eat. We encourage eating outside as well during snack and lunch. We will spread students out in the building for lunch, snack, during class time as well. Students, whether you are in the group that is in your class, you will be participating in your class virtually from somewhere else in the building. You also have the option to stay at home on those days and participate from your homes. So that's something that if you have questions about, I'll be happy to answer them as well. But all of that is to be able to have our students be 6 feet apart when they are sitting for periods of time. In the hallways, we would ask that you keep a 3 to 6 foot distance between yourselves and others when you're going from class to class. And if we need to stagger passing periods, we will do so. But at the outset, we don't feel that we'll need to do that. The other thing that we're focusing on is air circulation, and so we will have the air units running in each classroom. The beauty thing about this building and our facilities is that each classroom has its own individual air unit, and so if the fans are turned on, fresh air will be coming into the classroom at all times. With the recirculated air, we have the best air filters. Classroom doors will be open, as we have always done, for years now in the upper school. And so we care about the masks, we care about distancing, we care about the air, and the last is our surfaces. And so be aware that we do have a plan for cleaning surfaces. Every time you come into a class that has had a class just leave, you will be responsible, students and teachers, for cleaning the surfaces. Where you're going to be sitting, you're going to be responsible for disinfecting it, essentially, before you get yourself comfortable while teachers are taking attendance at the beginning of class. We will have our cleaning crew cleaning door handles and common areas such as the restrooms, the common, the library, all throughout the day, especially after passing periods or high traffic periods. That will be happening. We are going to be closing our building at 3 o'clock every day for students unless they have set up time to meet with a teacher. We probably will not be running our learning lab, and we'll talk a little bit about that with athletics, but if it turns out that we need to, we will do so. And if that's the case, then the building will close at 4. The building will close at 4 anyway. If you have an appointment with a teacher, that should happen between the hour of 3 and 4. And then the building will be closing at 4 so that we can do our nightly deep cleaning. That is kind of all I have as regards our opening protocols. And so I will now kind of turn the introductions and announcements over to the people here in the meeting. I know you have some questions about testing. Some of you have sent your questions via email prior to the meeting. That's great, and we can address those. But what I will do now is ask Mr. Orman, who is our CFA Arts Director, to please introduce himself and say a few words. Mr. Orman.
Yes. Again, my name is Michael Orman. I am new here to the Meadows family, but I can tell you that I'm very excited about joining, especially in the difficult time that it is. But I will tell you that we have been working for months now, myself, the administration, and the faculty, to adapt to the situation at hand. We have plans for all different options, whether in person or remote. But I will tell you that, more specifics in terms of visual arts, we are looking at ways to socially distance within our classes, placing students to, at least 6 feet apart, providing them with art kits so that there is less transmission between students. In our theater classes, we are looking at how do we have performances in the COVID era, whether it is virtual performances, whether they are outside. We are adapting to the situation. And music and singing, the singing is a super spreader, and we understand that. And so we are providing more outdoor spaces. We have the great fortune of having the opportunity to be outside more often, especially as it gets a little bit cooler. But we are providing tents, and we will be having classes when the weather permits outside, so that we are doing everything that we possibly can to keep your students safe while providing them a rich Meadows arts experience. And we understand that it is difficult, but your children's safety, your safety is paramount. But we also want to provide you with that experience in the arts. And so we're working for that. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them at any time. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orman. Ms. Hirsch, do you mind saying hello and letting us know what your plan is for juniors this year in your department?
Hello. Hi, juniors and juniors families. Wish I could see your faces, but we're really excited to have you back on campus on the 17th. Whether school will look exactly the way it might in your past visions of junior year, we're doing our very best to keep all the activities, like Mr. Orman said, our arts activities, our assemblies. You'll hear from Mr. Ronquillo, his great plans, but really the idea of keeping connection, keeping your social needs at the forefront as we are in this kind of tender and vulnerable time. For parents, as ever, counseling is available for anything under the sun, whether it's academic supports, whether you are wanting to talk about the testing in the fall, and there's something going on with your child at this time. Additionally, if stressors have arisen in the last few months that might not have been there before, please know that that's normal. We're in a time of transformation for our society, for schools, and youth. You young people, if you're here, if you're up this morning, we heard from the 10th graders that mostly they were asleep. But if you're up and on the Zoom, we acknowledge and recognize that you are having to shift and pivot and do some things differently in your lives. And that can be tricky. But at the same time, you all are so resilient and are so strong in your minds and your bodies, and will be able to get through this time together. That said, as ever, if you want to reach out for any sort of support, we'll be holding in-person meetings for counseling one-on-one in the office, which is big, so we can be 6 feet apart. But if families want to meet, of course, that will be a Zoom session, because we're trying to limit the number of people on campus. So that's all I have to say, except that I'm looking forward to seeing you all, welcoming you back into the building, and working on this innovations for this school year together. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Hirsch. Mr. Gruber, if you'd like to talk a little bit about the updates in athletics.
Good morning. Yesterday I sent out a memo giving everybody an update on our response to the NIAA's announcement that sports are being pushed until January. Just to be clear, that the 3 sports season will go from January through May and start with the winter season, followed by the fall season, and ending with the spring season. And each season will run for 6 weeks without any postseason play. That being said, we've been working on a program which I touched upon a little bit yesterday in the email, that we're going to release the actual program in about 10 days, that will show everybody how we're going to do this, which will include how we will schedule it during the day, after school, and how the goal is really to get all of our kids an opportunity to do this on a regular basis, and to do it safely and to do it well. And we've got the team now on campus working with kids, already working on this plan. We really are trying to figure out how to spread them out through the day. But the great part is that it provides us an opportunity that we didn't have before, which is to really focus on the fitness levels and everything that kind of surrounds what the kids want to accomplish on a personal level, on a sports level, and just on a health level. And I think it will impact them tremendously. And again, I find it that this is something we wouldn't have had a chance to do before. This presented us an opportunity, and we want to take full advantage of that. And we'll have about 4.5 months to really implement this program and to see the kids really be transformed by it. So I think they're going to get a lot out of it. We're excited to roll this out. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me anytime.
Thank you, Mr. Goubert. Some of you have asked about the 2-credit PE requirement for graduation. We have not waived that at this time. If students were on the roster for sports during the spring at the end of last year, we gave all of those athletes that credit because the sports season was canceled out of anyone's control. But we will still require that these credits be achieved be earned, because we will have a plan for students. And so we will work with the athletics department to make sure that we are providing students with a way to get this credit. In addition, service hours has come up. We have a very high number of a service hour requirement, and we don't want to change that at this time. And so the next person that I'll introduce you to is going to talk about one of the things that the Dean of Students is integral in planning is service. It's difficult and challenging because a lot of the service will need to happen virtually, but that doesn't make it impossible. And I think one of the things that you as juniors can and should do is prove your fortitude and your imaginations, for example, in creating these kinds of opportunities, how to help others. And colleges will want to see that you problem solved and were able to do something really impactful in your community. So, Mr. Ronquillo, if you'll talk a little bit about service and advisory and clubs and all that good stuff.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our school year. I'm excited to start this school year. I've already been meeting with some of the student council kids, and some of them had even attended a virtual student council conference. The kids have come back with some great ideas. We're approaching student activities as far as we're not approaching it as what we can't do, but we're trying to we have an attitude of what we can do. So the kids are being very creative and coming up with ideas of things that we can do to still keep student activities going through this time. So, and I'll talk a little bit about advisory. Advisory in the junior year is primarily focused on college counseling. And so Mr. Hallman and Ms. Lustig will talk a little bit more about that. But advisory is we're still going to be doing advisory just like we normally have been. Assemblies will be done either live stream or virtually or pre-recorded. So some of the assemblies might be pre-recorded and shown in advisories. Students will be going to their advisory for assembly time, and then either watching a live stream of something happening or watching something that's pre-recorded for that. Clubs will also be meeting. We'll continue to meet. So we're going to continue with everything as much as we can, and keep it as normal as possible, but still remain safe. So I'm looking forward to working with all the juniors and their parents and making sure that we have a good, successful year. Service. Part of that student council conference, we got some ideas of things that we can do virtually so that students can still get their service hours. Many of the this year's juniors got service hours for will be getting service hours for the Puerto Rico trip. So a good chunk of their hours have already been completed, but we'll have some virtual ideas for students, and we'll try to implement some of that into advisory where students can get some service hours while they're in advisory. So, and again, I'm really excited about being back on campus and seeing everyone back on campus.
Thank you, Mr. Ronquillo. Before I introduce again our co-directors of college counseling, I did want to just talk about testing a little bit, standardized testing and test dates here on campus. The PSAT will matter to you juniors this year more than it has in the past, and that is still planned for October 14th. That is the date that we are given, and so that's a Wednesday. It's always that Wednesday, so we still plan to have that as we normally do, but we probably will just have students spaced out more. We haven't received the exact protocols for our standardized testing and how we're supposed to run those here, but we do have faculty and staff appointed as our kind of liaisons in this regard. So we still will be a testing center for SAT and ACT this year. We decided, though, when we canceled last March for I think it was an SAT date, that we would have no testing in our building until September. And so we will have those dates if they are not already, and I'll let Mr. Hallman and Ms. Lustig speak to this, but we may already have those dates where TMS is a testing site posted on the college counseling website calendar or even on the school calendar, and I'll take a look at that here in a minute. But we do plan to run SAT and ACT testing. We plan to not increase our test dates, which we have been asked to do. As you can imagine, the companies behind ACT and SAT, including College Board, are a little bit nervous about this. They want to increase testing dates and locations because, well, with spreading students out, they can't have as many students test at one time. But we will not increase just to kind of satisfy them. We'll do what's right for our community, as we've always done. And so one of the issues, though, is that because we are a testing site, we don't have the opportunity to give kind of first dibs to our families. You still need to sign up for these tests through their website and choose TMS as a testing site, but we cannot give priority to our own families, even though that's why we offer these test dates at our site in the first place. So I would suggest getting on those websites and finding out with Mr. Hallman and Ms. Lustig what date is going to be the best date for you based on what you're looking for and what your situation is. And so, of course, they're going to go over this in a number of meetings that they will host and have already hosted, frankly. So we do plan to still continue to run as a test site. So the answer to that is yes, in a very long-winded way. So I will now ask Mr. Hallman and Ms. Lustig to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about college counseling in this very important junior year.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Michael Hallman, co-director of college counseling. Look forward to working with you. I know quite a few of you because I've worked with your children in the past. This is my 15th year at the Meadows, so I know quite a few of you, but I look forward to meeting the rest of you as well. I've worked with students whose last names begin with A through L, and just thought I would spend just a minute very briefly to talk about some of the programming we have planned for the year. And then my colleague, Melissa Lustig, will also talk about some as well. But as Ms. Larson mentioned, we will have the PSAT in October as planned. And again, it's the qualifying mechanism for the National Merit Scholarship Program. Otherwise, it's still a warm-up for the SAT. We're going to have two virtual evening presentations, one in September to kind of introduce you to the college application process, and then one in January, which will be sort of our kickoff for the college process, and we'll be going into more detail at that point. We have a coffee scheduled in between those two, and Mr. Gruber will be doing an NCAA student athletic presentation in March, which we're very fortunate to have him agree to do that, to talk about, and he can talk a little bit about more about that if you wish. But Ms. Larson went over the testing concerns and issues, but that's about all I have to share at this point. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, but I'd like to turn it over to my colleague Melissa Lustig at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Lustig. I'm one of your college counselors working with students' last names M through Z. Welcome to junior year. This is the year when the college search and preparation process really kicks into high gear, when your curriculum ramps up, when you start thinking about really delving into your passions and distinguish yourself, and when you really want to clarify and review your four-year plan to ensure that you stay on track. Our role is to help you understand your choices, introduce you to future possibilities, answer your questions, work with you individually, and really help you achieve your goals and dreams for the future. We begin working with juniors in advisory, and that's in second semester. We explore colleges, we identify schools of interest, we help you understand the admissions process, and we actually get work done on your applications. We have a variety of activities planned for you this year, as Michael stated, one of which is actual virtual college visits. Colleges have already been reaching out to us to find out how we're scheduling high school visits, and they're anxious to come to campus, so to speak, and we'll be virtually actually scheduling opportunities to connect with our students. And we're really excited about this because it actually expands the range of colleges who might not have a chance to visit, so to speak, the Meadows School, and really educate our students about all the choices that are out there. So college visits will be online this year as college admission officers are not traveling. College fairs will be online as well. We'll be helping to coordinate those for our students in October and April. And individual Zoom meetings will be available with both Mr. Hallman and myself starting after January 1st. That being said, we are always open to chatting with you, students and parents, so please don't hesitate to contact us. All of our contact information can be found on the college counseling page on the Meadows website.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Hallman and Ms. Lustig. As you know, juniors and junior parents, this is an incredibly important year, and you're in a great place. You'll have no better support than you will receive here at the Meadows School. Incorporating college counseling and all of this application and essay writing and workshopping and all of that into your school day is probably one of the smartest things we ever did. And so we're really engaged in that process with you, understanding how important it is, and so that support will continue in the capacity that we'll be able to do it this year. As strongly as we've ever been able to do it, it'll just look a little bit different. Some of you are asking some questions. This one, because it's college counselor directed, I'll go here first. Should juniors plan to take the SAT and ACT in the spring for the first time? What would you recommend for that?
I think, first of all, the testing plan and approach is a very personalized and individualized experience, and there's no one size fits all for all students. So we would recommend that you reach out to us and schedule a meeting, a one-on-one Zoom meeting, so that way we can kind of tailor our approach specifically to you, your goals, and where you are in your curriculum.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
Right.
There's another question. I know that there are going to be scheduled questions. Anytime we change anything, it seems confusing, but this is probably going to be the most confusing year. So let me clarify some of this. Some of you are asking questions about how we are dividing students up and what that means. And we have the ability in the high school. We're shackled in one way, but it gives us an opportunity in another way. And so every division is coming up with different protocols that are the most appropriate for the age group in the building. The age groups in the buildings, frankly. So in the high school, we do not have the option to cohort our students because we offer so many electives, and our students, even in a single grade, are taking very different classes from their peers in the same grade. So in order to be able to still offer the amazing academic program that we have, we needed to be able to utilize safety protocols and change our schedule fundamentally in order to be able to provide this. And so dividing the students in half. So if you're in a class of 18, for example, which is the highest any of our classes go, you will be split into two groups. It may split up the middle, it may not. I believe that we're going to do this by alphabet. We named these groups originally Silver and Blue, but then we realized we have a conflict with the Battle for the Bell and the grade levels, and so we might have to change this. And we've come up with some pretty funny options, and some parents and students have even suggested some, but we might just go with the ties and go stripes and solids. And so you will be in a group, and that group will not change throughout the semester or the year if we implement this for the whole year. You will have the option in the high school on your off day to stay at home if you would like to learn virtually. You will still need to be engaged in the classroom at the time that the class would meet, but you can do so from home. Because we have students that go from 14 to 18 in the upper school, 13 to 18 in some cases, some parents and students are going to be more comfortable with this option than others. And so at this point, it is an option that you can take advantage of. If you'd like to stay home on your off day but learn virtually, that is completely fine. Or if not, we will provide a space for you to be able to do that work here in the building. So we were not announcing this initially because we wanted our athletes to be here on campus if they were going to be participating on a particular team after school. But now that, at least for the fall semester, that isn't going to be an issue, we will be able to provide that option. So do we anticipate increased enrollment as Meadows is one of the few schools having face-to-face education? We don't just anticipate it, but we're actually experiencing it. So our admissions department is overwhelmed right now because we are able to do this and do it better than anyone. There's a lot of interest in our school. So the answer to that is yes and absolutely. And so we've increased, we have the highest number of freshmen that we've ever had in the high school. We have increased our numbers in the 10th grade. We have students who left our school for freshman year and have come back. And so yes and yes. Students will be allowed to use their lockers. That is an important question, at least initially. We have been debating this all summer long. Mr. Ronquillo and I have gone back and forth. We have cleaned all the lockers. We have changed all the locks. We have assigned all of the lockers to our students. But we also understand that in at least 2 of the locations on campus, those are pretty dense locations. And so if those become a problem, we will either eliminate the use of lockers for our younger students. But we believe because of the way the juniors' lockers are spread out all the way through the common, that we'll be able to provide lockers for juniors and seniors initially for all of our students. So yes, you will have the option initially to use your locker. You probably noticed when you went online to purchase your texts for the year that we have either bundles or virtual, online textbooks only. And this was in anticipation that we don't want our students carrying around a heavy backpack all day if we were not able to provide lockers. Much of what we're going to be doing this year is going to be on the computer. Our courses have now all been streamlined into one learning management system. Thank you for those of you, by the way, who filled out the survey that was provided earlier in the summer, because it gave us a lot of really good information. Some, especially in keeping with your comments here, is that having students in the building was incredibly important to you, and it's as important to us to be able to provide that. So we do appreciate that feedback. Also, it was a little bit confusing last year when we did transition to online pretty quickly in March, that using different platforms was confusing for students and parents. And so in the high school, we have decided to go with Canvas. Veracross will still be utilized. You will still have a student portal and parent portal. You have them now with the rollover, and your new schedule should be in there. And parents, you will have access to that again. So I would suggest if you haven't logged on, please do so and refamiliarize yourself with Veracross, or My Meadows as we call it. But Canvas will be the learning management system that we use for all of our classes. So if you are a student that, for example, tests positive, you let us know, we ask you to stay home for 14 days, you will still be able to participate in your class through the Canvas platform and through coming into the classroom virtually through Canvas, which is called Big Blue Button. It's their version of Zoom. But some teachers also will maybe continue to use Zoom, since all of us are very comfortable with that. They're very similar, and students will be able to get this rather quickly. So yes, that is an option. You're asking if there will be increased enrollment in junior year. It's a good question, and this is something that we handle on a case-by-case basis. It's very unusual for us to accept students beyond 10th grade. Because as our head of school has stated often, when we hand that diploma on graduation day to our seniors, we want to make sure that everyone we hand it to has gone through a very similar experience and has earned, what we put our brand on, essentially. So it is very unusual for us to enroll juniors and seniors to our school. We're very careful in making those decisions because it would be an exceptional situation for us to be able to do that. And I believe this year that we have not done so because we haven't had those exceptional students apply. We have had applicants, but we haven't been able to admit any at this point. Someone is asking if we're going to be getting tested here on campus. Mr. Gerber, you may want to address this and talk about what recently happened through the athletic department. But to answer in general terms, we would like to have testing protocols at school, but I'll let Mr. Gerber speak to this.
Well, we arranged through a good connection to do our first run of tests of the student athletes that have been attending the voluntary workouts last Thursday. So we started receiving the results yesterday. We had about 130 some people test. So we're waiting to receive all the results, the remainder of them today, and then really evaluate how the process went, whether this is the right company to do this with, to take a look at the results as a whole and how we're impacted here in the community. So you should be hearing from the school very soon about what our next step is. But we wanted to be very proactive. We wanted to find out whether we could pull this off, how we could pull it off, and what was happening, whether our coaches, some of our faculty, and our student athletes are healthy. So once we have a chance to complete that, I think you'll be hearing something very soon about the next phase of this process.
Thank you, Mr. Gerber. Some of you are asking about flex period. It's a great question. So thank you for asking, because I forgot to address that earlier. In line with the other things that I've mentioned about how our classes are going to be planned through, kind of the online learning management system, what we have done in order to also accommodate the new schedule, in order to have our schedule repeat Monday to Tuesday, Wednesday to Thursday. So you're aware it's a repeating schedule, in pairs, and it's a 16-day rotation. So if you are on campus on Monday, you don't have to be here on Tuesday, but you can be here if you'd like to. In keeping with that, to have the ability to be able to do that, we had to have an even number of periods. And so I added an H block to our schedule. And what I decided to do with this when I was looking at student schedules was, and also looking and understanding that you're going to be spending a lot of time in front of your computers. The flex period seemed to me to be the most practical option for you because it's a break, essentially. You need a break in your day. You're going to need a break probably from your computer. I would like you to take your flex period, and we would like to run the upper school very similar to a college campus setting. In order to be able to do that, we need students to be responsible. I will really be looking to you, the juniors and seniors, to be the models of how to behave here on campus. Again, we're taking our protocols incredibly seriously. Now more than ever, education is a privilege. If we have any students that are going to be irresponsible, even when it comes down to the mask and not wearing it properly, we will send those students home. We do have an option for you to learn at home, from home. And so being on campus, if that is what you want, you're going to need to be very responsible. I would like flex periods to be a time where you can get outside, where you can go get some food, you can go to the corral, you can go into the training room and work out. You can go for a walk, you can go up on the track if you'd like to and get some exercise, be with your friends, as long as you're following the protocols, you're socially distanced, you're wearing your mask when you need to be. That's what we want flex period to be. If you would like to use flex period to get work done, absolutely. And we will provide a place for you to sit and get work done if that's what you'd like to do. We'd like your work to happen here at school during the day, or at least during school hours, so that when you're home, you can be disconnected from the computer. You can be at the dinner table with your families. You can get a decent night's sleep. You can be thinking what service you want to provide and be able to use that time to do some kind of community service engagement. So that's what the flex period's about. And so thank you for asking that. It really is a break time, and we want you to be able to utilize that in the best way that you see fit for yourselves, especially you as juniors. You know you, and you know what your needs are and what your responsibilities are. Some of you are asking about the corral, which is a great question. The corral will be open, and they are changing their model to fit kind of the safety protocols that you've seen probably in your grocery stores and in restaurants. They will no longer be having grab and go or any self-serve items. So anything from the soda machine, if you will be distributed by the workers in the corral with masks and gloves. Everything will be grab and go, pre-made that day. So that's going to be what they're going to be doing. They'll also have a satellite location so that we can spread our students out during the peak times of snack and lunch. So I believe that second location, or that satellite location, is going to be outside the CFA building. So you'll be able to go there to get food, the same food that will be offered in the corral building. They're going to limit the number of people that can enter the corral at any one time. It already was in one direction, the traffic. You will not any longer, I think, even touch the keypad. And so there will be kind of as minimally, high-touch surfaces focused as possible. We also will no longer be sharing our time with the corral with the middle school. And so we've changed our schedule so that we will not have any crossover between the middle school and upper school for snack and lunchtime. So thank you for your question. I appreciate that. And I assume that the corral will be coming out very soon with information through SAGE or through the My Kids Spending for how this is going to work this year. Picture Day plans is a great question, and I will be working with Mrs. Shockey, who is our yearbook advisor, but we've received some suggestions for protocols from our photographer, and we'll be working with them to be able to take our pictures in a safe manner, because our students will need to be able to take their masks off in order to have their picture taken, but we do plan to have Picture Day, yes. So thank you for asking. That is all the questions that we have in the Q&A for now. So you do win the prize for having the least number of questions, but you are veterans at this, being juniors and parents of juniors. There's one more, sorry, for you, Mr. Goubert, for athletics. How do you get all the athletes to participate in the personal fitness program at the same time? If you could speak to that, that would be great.
So we're going to take a look at the full day schedule. We're going to look at what availability they have during the day. We have expanded, we're also going to combine their sports into this. We've expanded our fitness center. We're actually completing the renovation of a second center. So we'll have 2 areas to be able to utilize. And then we'll really start to sit down with the kids and look at their schedules. And then we'll talk to their coaches about when they need to get them out to their, whether it's sport of tennis or whether it's volleyball, when their trainings will be. So we're going to work individually to get them all have the opportunity to do this on a regular basis. So that's going to be the next challenge for us. But because we've been able to, expand our facilities, we'll be able to do this in a very safe and efficient manner. So it will combine their sport for the kids that are interested in doing that as well. Yeah, we'll get it done.
The other thing that I can add to that as well is when we were talking about the flex period and what that might look like, we did consider that, we want our students to be healthy and active, and that flex period could be utilized for fitness activities in concert with the athletics department. So the only period, if you have flex period, B period, and you're interested in using your flex period going into the training room, for example, we can move your flex period. Those can be any period throughout the day. Because B period is the one period that we wouldn't be able probably to accommodate that, because that is the period where both Ms. Jacobs and Mr. Sams will be teaching classes for the upper school. So you do need to be supervised. We want you to be supervised and trained and have the expertise in the room with you. So we can make arrangements and changes to your schedule if need be, if you'd like to utilize your flex period to be involved in the personal fitness program.
And the plan really is to have our team, our human performance team, available throughout the entire day to do this. So really from the first period all the way to the end of the day, and then even after school.
Okay. There's another question to kind of add on to this. If you are enrolled in the personal fitness course, you can still participate in the other kind of programs that we're going to be offering for student athletes. Absolutely. So I would keep your enrollment in personal fitness or in sports medicine. Definitely keep that on your schedule. But yes, you can participate above and beyond that. There's a question about carpool, which is a great question, in that I think I need to probably, send up the ladder to the head of school. We have changed our start times. And so in the upper school, we are going to be opening our building at 7:15. Middle school, I think we're the earliest building to open, because we do need to check our students in the morning initially to make sure that they've gone through the protocols. We're still arranging how we're going to handle that, because we do have a high number of students in this building. And so we have the longest check-in time. Our first bell's at 7:45, class starts at 7:50. So carpool line is interesting, an interesting question, because it involves actually the other divisions a lot more than it involves the upper school. We have a number of our population that actually drive themselves to school. And so I know there is a plan for this in the other divisions, and I'm just not sure what that would be in the upper school. We still plan, though, to have our drop-off be in the same area behind the corral. It's just a matter of how we're getting students into the building. The door that our students usually come in with is the one by Mr. Santo Pietro's room. We're now changing that to the one closest to Mr. Meadows' room. And so that's a great question, and I think that's one that will need to be addressed to the overall community, because it involves every division. So I don't have a specific answer for that one, but I will get you one. Mr. Guerrero, someone wants to know when the varsity team tennis practice will start now that the season has moved to February.
Well, as of now, we've been granted permission by the NIAA to continue our informal trainings so that they can continue to do what they are doing now. But as we get closer to the start of the school year, we'll have a better sense of when we can have more formal practices. But I sense that we won't be able to have the formal practices for a while, but we can do the trainings that we're planning on doing. So even if they don't happen all together, the kids can, we can do this in different pods, that we're looking at doing it in different group sizes to be able to, for example, for tennis, to be able to do that throughout the school day as well, or after school.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gruber. I'll just have kind of a final word now, since that is all the questions that we were asked in the Q&A. Please plan on attending our open house. We have changed it so that we can practice social distancing and limit the number of people in any building, actually and on campus overall at any one time. So if you will look at the email that you should have received from Lauren Walker from the advancement office, the open house schedule is now spread out over 2 days, and we have it arranged by alphabet, and it is an open window time slot. So I believe that the times are 2-hour windows, where you will have the opportunity to come and go as you please during that time. We're asking that it's only one student and one parent per family in any division. So if you have multiple children in multiple divisions, please divide and conquer. But if you're an upper schooler and you drive and your parents can't make it or have done it enough times that they're pretty familiar with our program, please, juniors, feel free to come on your own. We would ask, though, that you practice social distancing, even outside in the parking lot with your friends. Wear your mask when you come into the building. Make sure that you look into the classroom first, and make sure that you follow what the teacher has established. There may be a sign on the door. The teacher will just let you know. If you could please stand over here, I'll be with you in a moment. But we will have you spaced out in the classrooms, and don't enter any classroom that has a high number of people in it. Maybe go visit another teacher and then come back a little bit later in your 2-hour window time slot. Okay, so that's the open house. We do hope that you plan to attend. We hope to see you here, and we can't wait to see you when school starts in a few weeks. If you have any particular questions, please feel free to reach out to any one of us. We'll be happy to answer them. And have a great day. Thank you for joining us. And I guess, juniors, now you can go back to sleep, or maybe help your parents out, mow the lawn or something, okay, before it gets too hot. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great day. Thank you, panelists.